computer. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our special event. So we were trying to do live, but technology failed us tonight. So it's going to be a recording, unfortunately, but it's the same information. So it's no worries. And I have a very special guest with me tonight. I have Dr. Shawn Talbot, who is Amara's Chief Science Officer. And thank you so much, Dr. Talbot, for joining me tonight and doing this call for everybody. I know that we have a lot of new members in this group that are excited about Project B3 and other things that we've been talking about. And again, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. Let me tell people a little bit about you. I am partnered with Amara Global, the mental wellness company, and Dr. Talbot, like I said before, he's the Chief Science Officer for us. So he's responsible for research, development, and formulation of all of our products. He has more than 20 years of experience developing nutritional supplements, and he's a nutritional biochemist and has a master's in exercise science, among many other things. He has a lot of letters after his name, so VIP, very important person. And again, welcome to the call, Dr. Shawn.
Thanks for having me, Patricia. Happy to be here.
Great. So let's get started since we're kind of like, doing this, running a little bit late here. So this event is called The New Science That's Disrupting the Wellness Industry. So can you start by telling us what is this new science that is, like kind of changing everything?
Yeah, so this new science that we're talking about is all around the gut-brain axis and primarily around the microbiome. So the microbiome, for people who don't know what that is, might be the first time they've heard of this before. This is the word we use for the collection of trillions of bacteria that live in our gut. And that collection of bacteria, what we're finding is that it's not just involved in gut health. It's not just involved in digestive performance. It's not just involved in things that stay in the gut. It's actually involved in creating neurotransmitters. 95% of the serotonin, the neurotransmitter that helps us be happy, is made in the gut. 70% of the dopamine that helps us be motivated and resilient, that is made in the gut. Most of your immune system resides in the gut, and your immune system is a big portion of, when we say the gut-brain axis, the immune system is a big portion of the axis whereby the microbiome sends signals up to the brain in your head. So, these discoveries around the microbiome, these discoveries around the gut-brain axis are fundamentally changing how we're thinking about mental wellness, things like depression and anxiety and stress and resilience and mental focus and things like that, but also are changing how we think about protecting the entire body and improving physical health. In fact, earlier today, there was a biotech company up in Cambridge that announced they're starting today their cancer trials around the gut-brain axis. So they have sort of a drug version of a probiotic that they're using to modulate gut health and change immune system signaling to treat cancer. So like this science is fundamentally changing everything that we think about what it means to be a healthy human. And knowing that, there are some things that we can do from a natural perspective, not a synthetic drug perspective like this biotech, but from a natural perspective to say, okay, what can we feed the microbiome to make it more robust and more diverse and have better metabolism? And if we can do that, now the microbiome can make the kinds of compounds that we want to help with our energy and our mood and our appetite and our, all of that kind of stuff. We say to people, how you feel is not just in your head, it's also in your gut. And so that's why a lot of the things that we're doing to make ourselves feel better originate in the gut as the first place. We call it the second brain sometimes. So that's sort of an overview of what maybe we'll talk about. And there's all kinds of ways that we can harness this new science to improve not just how we feel, but how we perform and what our metabolism is and, a variety of different health outcomes.
That's amazing. And, the whole thing about the cancer research is like, if anybody has like mind-blowing, like right there with that information, like leave us a mind blow in the comments because it's, like people are catching on, right? I guess, like with the research and everything.
And that's an important point. People are catching on. It's like this science is very, very new. So a lot of times people dial into one of these calls and they'll hear about it and they'll go, I don't know about that. That sounds that
Ooh.
sounds like science fiction, and then they go out there and they Google around a little bit, or they read some articles and they go, oh my gosh, why have I never heard of this before? The reason is because it's very, very new science. But like I said just a few minutes ago, it's completely changing how we think about what even human health is even all about.
Yeah, super exciting stuff. So you mentioned mental wellness, and that's not a term that a lot of people use. Obviously, we are the mental wellness company. We're partnered with the
Mm-hmm.
mental wellness company. But I think like a lot of people talk about mental health or mental illness, but we don't hear a lot really about mental wellness. So can you talk a little bit about that and why mental wellness now?
Yeah. So we Amari is the mental wellness company, right? We've really put a flag in the ground and said, this has always been a big problem, right? It's not like it's a brand new problem. Mental wellness issues have been a big problem for a long time. That's what I've focused my career on studying for the last 20 years or so. But when we say mental wellness, people hear in their heads, they hear mental illness. And what we're really trying to get people to understand is that the mental wellness continuum goes all the way from people who are depressed and anxious to people who just feel kind of blah, to people who feel pretty good but want to get that mental edge, right? The kinds of principles that we talk about around modulating the gut-brain axis are what we mean by mental wellness, right? And that can help someone who's depressed feel normal again. It can help somebody who feels kind of okay or kind of blah feel amazing again. It can help somebody who feels pretty darn good to get that edge over their competition, right? So the same principles around what we might do with the microbiome, what we might do with gut-brain axis signaling, what we might do with neurotransmitter balance, that applies no matter where you are on that mental wellness continuum. It's just a different collection of benefits that you're getting based on where you're starting and where your goals are, and sort of, where you want to go. How good do you want to feel, basically? So we looked at that and we said, wait a minute, these mental wellness issues have always been a big deal. They seem to be getting worse and worse as the years go by. And just 1 year after we started, Amare, the World Health Organization came out and they said, you know what? These kinds of issues, mental wellness issues, are the #1 global health issue in the world today. And that was really a revelation to a lot of people. And so now you see a new story about mental wellness or mental health or mental fitness or whatever, however you want to frame it. You see a new story every single day in the mainstream news media. It's no longer just a science story. It's no longer just a health story. It's a mainstream national conversation that's happening around these kind of issues. And Amari is the only company focusing exclusively on it, especially from the science-based ways around the gut-brain axis. So it's really, really exciting time right now.
Yeah, very exciting. And wasn't it like today or yesterday or whatever? It came out today, I think LeBron James saying something about stress or, depression or, something related to mental health.
Yeah,
So it's,
exactly. And LeBron James is just the latest in a long line of,
mhm.
of celebrities that are finally catching on to this idea that if you improve your mental health or your mental wellness, your mental fitness, you can get more out of your physical health. You can get more out of your performance. You can get more out of every single aspect of your life if you can get your mental balance back to where it needs to be, or optimized or improved. So, LeBron James is talking about it today. Oprah has been talking about it for a couple of years. In fact, her documentary on mental health is coming out next year.
Okay.
I mean, it's just over and over and over again.
Mhm.
We're hearing about it, and yet, nobody is really focusing on it in a comprehensive, holistic way, the way Amari is. So if people want to feel better, Amari should be their first stop because we have lots of options for different people.
Right. And the next question that I have for you is kind of like going into that a little bit is, so, you were talking about gut health and that, being, a piece of it, I guess, right? So how is the gut-brain axis, and you hear a lot about gut health, I mean, a little bit more than you used to, I guess,
Right.
but, gut health is not everything. And how is the gut-brain axis different from gut health?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. So, a lot of times when people say gut health, right, they're talking about the fact that they're bloated or their digestion isn't good or they've got gas or something like that, right? Or they've got stomach aches, right? Those are all aspects of gut health. But, those are only really scratching the surface of what we consider at Amari to be gut health. So gut health is good motility. It's good digestion. It's good microbiome balance. It's low levels of inflammation. It's having good gut integrity, meaning you don't have a permeable gut, or what some people will call leaky gut. It means that, all of that together. But we think of the gut now, as I used the term a few minutes ago, called the second brain, that the second brain in your gut is really sending signals out to the first brain in your head and to the third brain in your heart and to all the systems in your body, your adrenal glands, which are involved in stress response, your thyroid and your pancreas that are involved in metabolism, your gut, if it has the right kind of health and the right kind of balance in all of those different ways, it'll change your appetite, appetite for better food versus junk food and comfort food. This biotech that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, they're looking at aspects of gut health to bolster the immune system to fight things like melanoma. There are examples of the gut actually being able to turn on healthy genes in your body and turn off unhealthy genes in the body. So it's like gut, when somebody says gut health, unless they're really describing that they're addressing all of these different areas, they might just have a digestive product. They might just have a product that helps with, your heartburn or something like that. And those are important, but there's so many other aspects. And if you can look at it in a really comprehensive way, you can take gut health and it really can be not just a gut thing. It can be a systemic improvement of every aspect of your health if it's done right.
Yeah, and leave us a wow in the comments if this is like totally like, blowing your mind, because I'm like, the whole thing about the cancer and the melanoma, I had not heard that. So that's a new thing that you just mentioned there that I hadn't heard before. That would be incredible. I mean,
it is incredible. Like literally 5 years ago, a lot of the stuff that I just said would have been considered science fiction because the data didn't exist yet. There were always these hints of, wait a minute, we can observe things. People who are more depressed tend to have more gut problems. People who have behavioral issues like autism have more gut problems. People who have gut problems have more problems with stress resilience and anxiety and things like that, right? So there were always these very tantalizing potential linkages or relationships or correlations, but there was never that good science to show 1 + 1 equals 2. Like that sort of connecting the dots wasn't there until very, very recently. And that's why I say this is a really exciting time, because the science is changing enough where it's just completely changing how we think about human health. And knowing that the science has changed allows a company like Amari, that's only been around for a couple of years, to really focus on that very brand new science and bring it to market as quickly as possible so that people can modulate all of these different pathways in a natural way, and in a way that I think is really important, that you don't even have to necessarily care about the science. You just have to know that it's there and have that give you enough confidence to say, okay, I'll try those products. I'll see what they do for me, because the results are very noticeable. They're very demonstrable. So someone can take the products and they can feel better very, very quickly. And that's important, because if you can help somebody feel better quickly, they're going to keep using that product. And what we end up seeing is that they get a little bit better quickly, and then they get more better and more better and more better. And you just see them moving up that mental wellness continuum. And their health improves in all these ways that don't look like they're related. But if you know the biochemistry, it's all related back down to this level of the gut-brain axis.
And I would say that's the key, really, that the products work and you can notice that they work, right? I mean, if you are feeling better and that's the only thing you're doing differently, that's it, right?
Yep, that's exactly. And the one thing that's really interesting to me as a researcher who has done this for most of my career, once somebody gets a little bit better, they want to get a little bit better, and they want to get a little bit better. You see their motivation change. You see their behavior change. You see their goals change, right? They get better and they go, oh my gosh, I didn't even think that I could feel this good. What if I could feel this good? Yeah, imagine what I could accomplish. Imagine what I could achieve. It's the really, really cool thing to see just people improving and improving and improving.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. So we have been talking on this page a lot about the Project B3. That's a program that you introduced to Amare actually about a year ago. Like you guys were running the program at about this same time, right? Through the holidays. And so talk to me a little bit about that and the sense concept that you use in this program. Kind of like an overview of how is this approach different from other like diets that are out there. We're hearing, the new year is coming, everybody wants to get in shape and get healthier and all that. So how is this program different for somebody that's like looking and seeing, it's like, oh, this sounds really good. Like, what is it going to do for me, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Project B3 stands for three B's. One is body, one is brain, and one is biome, right? So I just mentioned a few minutes ago how the biome, the microbiome, sends signals throughout the entire body, including to the brain. And if we get the right signals, we can help people feel better. We can improve mood, we can improve stress levels, we can reduce tension, we can improve energy and focus, and brain fog goes away and all those kinds of things. But what we found was we were doing the biome piece and we were getting benefits in the brain. So the first two B's, what we observed is that people were coming back to us and saying, hey, you know what? I'm feeling so much better. My appetite is changing. I'm not craving the junk food as much as I did before. I'm not reaching for the cookies. I'm not reaching for, the fast food and things like that, right? So that was one thing that changed relatively quickly in people. You get the biome right, the brain gets better, and you see these behavioral changes. But then people came back and they said, you know what? My appetite is changing, so I'm eating better. My energy is changed, so I'm more physically active. My stress is lower, so I seem to be getting better sleep quality. And all of these things have led to people saying, and I'm also losing weight, and I'm not even really trying to lose weight. What's going on? And we were explaining to them, well, the reason you're probably losing weight is because you're eating better. And the reason you're losing weight is because you have more energy and you're exercising more. Even if you're not sort of exercising, you haven't really changed your regimen, you're being more physically active. You're being, more go get 'em, that day kind of thing. If you're sleeping better because your stress is lower and your tension is lower, that means that you're not having some of those stress eating signals the next day. We've known for years that sleep deprivation, even missing a couple hours a night or having bad quality sleep, is highly related to gaining weight over time, especially belly fat, or what we would call stress fat. So all of these things were coming together and we went, I wonder if we could put together a whole program that really encompasses not just the supplements that people are using right now, but what if we could take those supplements and then wrap them in a very easy to follow educational program that educates people around, hey, as your appetite is changing, maybe this is the way you want to take your nutrition. As your stress is going down, maybe this is the way you want to think about what we call sleep hygiene, helping people sleep better and get a better quality of sleep. Maybe if your energy is getting better because you're taking the supplements, now you want to use that energy to be more physically active. So here's some recommendations around exercise. So all of those different pieces, the supplements, the exercise, the nutrition, the sleep quality, and then asking yourself every week, how's it going? What else can I do? How do I want to change up my plan, or, change something that's not working, or keep doing something that is working? That last E is evaluation. So all of those, supplementation, exercise, nutrition, sleep, and evaluation, that's sense. That's the sense program that when you order a Project B3, I knew we were going to talk about it, so I grabbed a box. This has all the supplements. It has your probiotics, your prebiotics, it has your fibers, it has your proteins, it has your phytonutrients, it has your micronutrients, your multivitamins, all the supplement piece, but it also comes with a really easy to follow sense program that brings all of that together. And we don't promote it as a weight loss program per se. We don't promote it as a hardcore exercise diet regimen or anything like that. It's really a lifestyle program, because what we see is that people start it and they feel better almost immediately. And because they feel better, they go to the next stage, and that makes them feel even more better. And then they go to the next stage and they feel even more better. We just did a trial on this program, a full-on clinical trial that we ran over 6 weeks. And we're going to be presenting oh, wait a minute. We already presented those data 2 months ago at the International Society for Nutritional Psychiatry Research. And we're able to show if we can modulate the biome, we can get the signals to the brain, we can have these effects through the whole body. And we're able to show microbiome changes. We're able to show changes in cholesterol, in blood sugar, in cortisol, in the ratio between bacteria, so that we could show that people who, when they started, the ratio of their bacterial microbiome was predisposing them to weight gain. And after the supplementation, the ratio of those bacteria, something called the F to B ratio that we won't go into right now, but now was in a place where now these people were resistant to gaining weight, right? So metabolically changing their microbiome put them in a place where they were more likely to lose weight. And then all of that sort of follows when you start doing the right diet and the right exercise and all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really different way of thinking about getting people to improve their metabolism through their whole body by starting at that perspective of the gut-brain axis.
Yeah, I love that. And what you were saying, first of all, I love the fact that, it's not a program. It's like, oh, you can't eat this at all, like for, the rest of your life, or for whatever, 30 days or 60 days or whatever it is. You're very flexible, and it kind of, you take into account that people are busy, that people are traveling, that people are, they get sick, whatever, you can skip a day of like not exercising or not eating, salads and things like that. And it's not going to be the end of the world. So I love that, that we're trying to reduce the stress with this. So, doing all those other things stresses people out, right? Like,
exactly. See, that's one of the issues, is that you get on one of these really restrictive, really stringent kind of a program, and you might be able to follow it for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, but it stresses you out, and you can't stay on that long term simply because it's too restrictive for you.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that I think is interesting is like, like you're talking about how the body kind of starts healing, like the gut and everything. So like if your gut isn't working properly, you can't absorb those nutrients that you're feeding the body, right? I mean, that's another part of this whole program.
That's exactly right. And then if you can improve that gut integrity, not only do you get an improvement in metabolism, right? So we're reducing something for any of the nerds on the call right now. By improving by improving gut integrity, we're reducing something called endotoxemia, or metabolic endotoxemia. For anybody who has ever tried to do all the right things with their diet and exercise regimen, and they've not been able to lose that body fat, they've not been able to lose that gut that they get, the sort of central, abdominal obesity or belly fat, it's probably because you have metabolic endotoxemia. You're having leaky gut, you're having the wrong kinds of signals from your microbiome going right out into the rest of your system. And even if you're eating the right diet, even if you're doing the right physical activity program, you're stuck. It's like somebody has their foot on the brake and you just can't make any progress. That's something that we know, if we can modulate this gut-brain axis, that metabolic endotoxemia goes down. And that's when people come back and they say, you know what? All of a sudden something clicked and now my body's working again. It's because that metabolic change was putting a brake on all your good efforts.
Yeah, that was me. And I can share with anybody like my story about like I was stuck with my weight. Like, I lost 10 pounds in like 4 or 5 months after I started with a supplement. So yeah, amazing. I love it.
Right. And one more thing. Here we sit here in the middle of December, right? Mm-hmm. In just about 2 or 3 weeks, everybody around the country, everyone around the world, for goodness sakes, is going to be making their New Year's resolutions. Mm-hmm. And the top 2 resolutions, the last 5 years running, have been lose weight and get a handle on my stress. And so some of that stress is from, your stressful world. Some of it's from financial stress. And so here, sitting here at Amare, everything we're talking about, whether it's Project B3 as a product system or as an overall program, or whether it's Amare as a business opportunity for people, that solves all of those problems right there, So it's like the timing of what we're trying to do is just so perfect.
Thank you for mentioning that. That's a great point, actually. Yeah, we're definitely, ahead of the trends here. Can you, when you were talking about the microbiome and everything, I thought you mentioned it regulates hormones, right? So,
Yep.
you know, a lot of people that are in this group that we are in right now with this chat are going through menopause. So, could
Yeah.
you, you know, talk a little bit about how the Project B3 can help, you know, with the symptoms, like, you know, because we have like, you know, the weight gain that you were talking about, insomnia, hot flashes, you know, I mean, you name it, like everything
Yep.
that happens in menopause, like all the women that are in this group, like, you know about all that. So if you can, you know, kind of address that a little bit for us, that would be great.
Yeah, so it this can get a little bit complicated. So I'll try to do my best on how all of these different pieces of your endocrinology, of your hormone system sort of interlock with each other. So if we're focusing on the microbiome piece of it first, right? We can get the microbiome to be in a more balanced state. You know, if it's out of balance, we might call that dysbiosis. If we can get it back into a balanced state, now it's going to do a better job of direct modulation of hormones. Meaning the microbiome can take inactive estrogen and convert it back into active estrogen. And that's going to be wonderful for somebody who was going through a menopause situation. It wouldn't be dangerous for somebody who, you know, for like people here, you know, you're increasing estrogen levels. And if they're low estrogen, they love that story because they want more estrogen to get rid of their hot flashes and, you know, their night sweats and all that kind of stuff. But if you have somebody who's in a normal estrogen situation and you say you're increasing estrogen levels, that might scare them from the perspective of things like breast cancer risk and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What the microbiome can do is it can, if you have a low level of systemic estrogen, right? Menopause situation. It can take inactive estrogen, convert it back to active estrogen. Your body absorbs that. You get the benefits of, you know, of hormone replacement therapy without actually taking the hormones. But it won't do that if your systemic estrogen levels are already normal. So it has the ability, getting your microbiome rebalanced has the ability to take your low estrogen back up to normal, but it won't take a normal estrogen above normal. So that's a very, very nice place to be. And you can see that with natural rebalancing regimens like what we're talking about. What you'll also see, though, is that you know, as you go through menopause, your estrogen levels drop, your production of estrogen drops. Estrogen is very protective against the detrimental effects of another hormone called cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. So pre-menopause, you have estrogen. Even if you have high stress levels and high cortisol levels, that estrogen is very protective against those high stress levels. And so that means that estrogen is going to protect you against stress eating. It's going to protect you against belly fat gain. But as soon as that estrogen goes away as you go through menopause, now that cortisol is telling your body, eat as many sweets as possible and store them in your belly fat as much as possible. And so, you know, now you've got something where you say, all right, now I need more estrogen or I need less cortisol, and modulation of the microbiome. I just explained the estrogen piece. Modulation of the microbiome can also lower cortisol. In fact, in our last B3 trial that we just did, we showed a 2% drop in belly fat. And we also showed I think it was an 11% drop in cortisol. So stress levels were down, energy levels were up, belly fat levels were down. You know, it was all going in the right direction. And so, you know, people will say like, well, why did it work? Well, it worked a little bit because of the microbiome. It worked a little bit because of that metabolic endotoxemia. It worked a little bit because of the estrogen. It worked a little bit because of the cortisol. There's another metabolic hormone in that mix called thyroid. And we know that people who use our fundamentals pack, which is a core part of this Project B3, they have better thyroid metabolism, so their energy levels and their metabolism is better. We saw improvements in blood sugar. Blood sugar levels were lower by 6%. So like all these different pieces of metabolism are going in that right direction. And that, I think, is really the secret to it, is that if you want to have long-term success on a program that you can stay on, and a program you'll want to stay on because it makes you feel better and perform better, you know, you don't want to just say, let's crush appetite or let's stimulate metabolism, right? You actually don't want to take that approach. You want to say, let's do a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there, and let's modulate the whole system, give your whole body a tune-up. And if you do that, everything works better, and you just perform better and feel better. And that's exactly what we see of people who go through the whole B3 program.
Love that. So the body is like really regulate, like you were saying, with the levels of estrogen is like it's not gonna let the body like shoot up the estrogen to unhealthy levels, I
Right,
guess.
that's exactly right. It
Okay.
really is that idea of modulating, or sometimes we'll use the term priming, that the body, if it's out of balance high, reestablishing that balance brings it back down to normal. And if it's out of balance low, it brings it up to normal. So that, sometimes we call that priming. Someone who knows herbal medicine might refer to that sort of rebalancing a phenomenon as something called adaptogenic effect. There's all kinds of ways that we can see this if we can get the system talking to each other. So that's when we say gut-brain axis. We're talking about the gut talking to the brain through the axis in between. And that axis in between involves the microbiome, it involves the immune system, it involves all these hormones that we just talked about. And it's a matter of getting them all into the right balance so that you can have that good signaling.
Right. Well, we're getting into the half an hour here of chatting, which has gone, flown by, but I want to finish quickly, maybe. I was going to ask you another question, but I think that we haven't mentioned the heart component of, like this whole gut-brain axis,
Right.
optimization and all that. I know there's a heart part that, we're
Right.
also like targeting, and even for women who are going through menopause, like as we age, like, our risk for heart disease and everything increases with obesity and all these
That's
hormonal
right.
changes, like women with the weight gain and all that. The heart is kind of part of that picture, right? So if you can talk a little bit quickly about the, the heart and how that is, part of all this.
Yeah, so as we've been at the forefront of this kind of research around using the gut-brain axis to modulate mental wellness and physical health, we've always been looking at, all right, what's the next wave? Is it, for a while when we first started, nobody had ever heard of the second brain before in the gut, and now it's becoming sort of mainstream thinking. We also went a little bit further and said, you know what? There's also this, the heart is a real dense collection of neurons or nerve cells. And that can be considered a third heart in a way. First brain in your head, second brain in your gut, third brain in your heart. But the signals are a little bit different. The signals that are coming out of your second brain in your gut are more biochemical in nature. They're cytokines and hormones and neurotransmitters and things like that. The signals that are coming out of your third brain of your heart are more electrical in nature. Your heart can make certain hormones like oxytocin and things like that help with social connections and relaxation and things like that. But most of the signals are electrical in nature. And so last year, we were the first company to be able to show that if you nourish the heart the right way, use the right nutrients to get the heart to be more efficient, you can actually have a mental wellness benefit. You can help people feel better. Their fatigue goes down, their depression goes down, their brain fog goes down. And so that idea of the heart as a third brain to help the first brain in your head perform better, that's a completely different area of science that Amaria is really pioneering. And we're working on some other things to continue expanding this story, into the coming years. But you bring up a good point, Patricia, about postmenopausal women. Once you go through that change of life, your cardiovascular risk goes through the roof. And so we've collected data to show that if you use one of our products called Menta Heart, that links these two hearts, the first brain and the third brain, you can improve how people feel. And you can also lower their cardiac risk profile. Same thing happens with Project B3. If you lower cholesterol, you lower bad cholesterol, you raise good cholesterol, you can see the cardiac risk profile improving in a very, very substantial way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for touching on that. Yeah, I thought it was kind of important to mention the heart because we really haven't talked about it, but we can probably talk an hour about that
Right.
too. So the Project B3 would be an amazing product for somebody that wants to start before the new year starts, the new decade, to start like a new lifestyle program. If you're in menopause, that can be an excellent choice to go with, because of the lifestyle tools that come with the program as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you don't have to wait until the new year, right? You can start now
Exactly.
and get the anti-stress benefits as you go through the most stressful time of year, the holiday period. And then you'll come out into the new year feeling a lot better and ready to take on the world, So I say, if you want to feel better, start as soon as possible.
Yeah, and we have a money back guarantee, so there's no risk really. If you don't like it, if it
Right.
doesn't work for you, then you can return. So I would suggest that if you have signed on to the group, if somebody invited you and you have been thinking about the Project B3, to tag that person that invited you and tell them that you want more information about it or you want to sign up and get started. I mean, you can get started and have your Project B3 by Monday or Tuesday, right? So you can start the new year with a completely, like different outlook on life and feeling better. Like Dr. Shawn, it depends on where you're at. We meet you where you're at, and then we kind of help you move up that mental wellness continuum so you can, keep going and keep going
Yep.
and feeling better and better and better. So no matter where you're at, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. All right. So, well, that ends our chat with Dr. Shawn Talbot. Again, Dr. Shawn, thank you so much for doing this with me tonight. I appreciate it. And it was
My
a pity that
pleasure.
we couldn't get connected to the live, but we will have the recording going to be posted on the group and you will be able to hear the entire conversation with Dr. Shawn. So thank you so much.
All right.
And we will see you again soon, hopefully next month in California.
Sounds great.
Okay,
Okay.
Dr.
Bye-bye.
Shawn, thank you.